e-learning academy, but because of unavoidable circumstances, they were not able to join us. But we have few people from, of course, FAO offices are here. We are glad that the team continues to be with us. So today we want to hear more about the field, the private sector perspective as we move along with the implementation and enhancement of the performance of the farmer field schools, not only in East Africa, but Africa and globally. So again, welcome, and we look forward to sharing, continued sharing of this experience. But most importantly for today, we'd like to hear more about the solar and issues of farming in terms of the extension, but also specifically focusing on the field school, how we can tap into the opportunities which are available, but also how we can be able to support the process. So welcome and thank you very much.
Thank you, Max. Should I begin? Masai, are you with us?
I don't know whether Mr. Masai can say a word before we go to Dr. Chipstem.
There he is, yeah.
Yes, please. Sorry, guys. I've been in and out. My internet today is really messing up, but I'm here now. My name is Masai Mwawira. I'm a FFS master trainer. Currently,
Oops, Masai, we've lost you, it seems.
Okay.
Maybe we can put the video off.
are represented here.
Let's put our videos off except for Dr. Chipstem. The rest you can put our video and even our mic off. So I think Dr. Chipstem, just continue now. Proceed, please.
Okay, let me go ahead and start. Thank you. Yes, I think people in your group who know me as a livestock person, and once you're a livestock person, you always are. So that hasn't changed, and that's actually the way we got into working on this new and I think exciting irrigation system. We're just finalizing some investment to begin a livestock export program along the coast of Kenya. This will be in the Tana River area, and we've been looking for a irrigation solution that can be solar powered and is long life and very low maintenance. And we came upon the floppy sprinklers from South Africa. It's a product that's been around for 30 years, but hasn't taken off very much. They haven't really marketed it very much at all. And we asked them if it would work with solar, and they said no, they didn't think it would, but they did go to their group in Egypt who did it, and this is the first installation globally here in the picture. As you can see, it's an overhead system, and it can serve very well for irrigation without any battery backup, which will reduce the cost of course, a lot. Because with solar power, in fact, probably 55 or 60% of the cost is the batteries. So when we saw how well this worked, I made a couple of trips up to Egypt to see it. We knew we had the solution for our farm, and then the company said, we'd be willing to help market them in Eastern Africa. So we said, sure, just because I feel the potential is enormous for farming and can really help turn things around. We all know that irrigation pays, and it actually pays quite well, except until now, irrigation has been really labor intensive. There's a lot of maintenance required. And as you can see in a couple of these pictures here, you've got such uneven distribution of things like impact sprinklers. Drips, we know the problems. And both of those, if you're farming with large machinery, you have to pull them up before you fit the field ready for the next crop, of course. And with center pivots, again, you get this uneven water distribution. That increases disease and increases fertilizer runoff, so therefore increased cost for the farmer. This system called solar floppies, if I can turn on the video, I don't know if everybody can hear. See my volume. If it's, well, this is basically what we call rain on demand. It's an overhead system strung 5 meters high, and the system works obviously on solar power, and the beauty of it is you can drive all the farm and tractors and combines underneath it with no interference. The water pipes are strung up as well, and right here, if you can see my mouse, circle it, is one of the floppies. So they're out of the way of everything. They produce a very even distribution pattern in the field. And as you can see in the diagram on the left, it's just goes around in what looks like a random way, but it's actually a quite well-defined pattern. And that's really interesting because it's the water spinning that makes that pattern. There's no rotating parts. It just has a little valve that spins water inside. I'll show it to you in a bit. And that valve then causes the silicon tube to flop in this pattern. And as it overlaps right now, you'll see it comes very close. So across the field, we get very good, broad, even distribution. I'm still very new to this. Masai is as well, although we've been working on it here in Kenya about a year, effectively setting the stage for implementation. And there's some good research now that's been done in the past year in Egypt, where this first installation was. And compared to center pivots and sprinklers on the same farm, they're able to get better production on lower energy, less fertilizers, less pesticides, without needing any maintenance. As you see with this corn silage, they got a 30% increase. And what I find the exciting thing is it's a 90-day non-GMO variety of maize. This picture was in 72 days, and this pole here, the top of this pole is 5 meters high. This gentleman here is 6 feet 2 inches. And so you can see how that maize grew so large and evenly in 72 days. They found they were able to harvest it in 75 days. So they got increased production on less inputs, including less water and energy. And this held through with 4 or 5 other crops that they've done. So why do we think they're best? It really feels like rain when you're walking underneath these. It's quiet, it's very even distribution. So it feels very natural. And of course, by watering from above like this, you're washing the leaves of the plant every day, and that will increase photosynthesis. You're also creating a cool microenvironment. And that microenvironment is very important for our azo areas. Any place that's above 29 degrees ambient temperature, which translates to about 6 degrees higher on leaf surfaces. So the leaf surface temps would be above 34 degrees, you end up slowing down the crop production, the plant growth. And by turning these on as in a burst between maybe 30 seconds and 2 minutes, every hour or every half hour, depending on the heat, you can bring the temperature below that 29 degrees and therefore get the increased production that was seen up here. This crop was grown in Egypt during the summer last year, and so therefore it was 35 to 45 degrees most days, but they still got excellent growth. And of course, center pivots, you can't do that with and with drips either, because the center pivots move very slowly, so you can't cover the whole crop every half hour. And with drips, of course, it's on the ground or underground, and so you're not creating that cool microenvironment above the ground. That's that we're finding is so important for production. The nice thing about this, combining with solar energy, it has a 25-year life. And the company provides a 5-year warranty on the floppies. We effectively double that to 10 years. And it's very possible to automate this with soil moisture sensors and leaf sensors, so the irrigation can be controlled remotely, and a lot of the headaches of maintenance are, of course, eliminated. So the result comes out to increased production and less costs overall, which is obviously greater profits for the farmer. Here's the floppy. You can see it's probably twice the size of a pen, and there's just a few parts in it. This is a flow control valve. And what happens when the water pressure is high, it squeezes this silicone sleeve, and that slows down the water. When the water pressure is low, it expands. What that flow control valve means is that you don't have to level your fields. You can put this on hillsides, and if you're close to the pump or far from the pump or uphill or downhill, you still get the same even water distribution. This is the water valve that spins the water. And then that's connected to a weight. So when you're through irrigating, the weight will pop the silicone tube back down in the plastic tube and protect it from UV light. So this connects to this, connects to that. And that's why you see it's virtually maintenance free, because there's almost nothing to break or go wrong. Sometimes this flow control valve will clog, and if it does, that's because your water filters aren't working properly. So the point is then, if you see one clogging, you go up and within 5 minutes, you just unscrew it and rinse it off and put it back together. But the point there is you go to your filter and do the required maintenance on that. This is just a quick diagram to see how they're strung up. They're placed 60 meters between poles, 12 meters apart. So that permits any farm equipment to go underneath, all the plowing to happen. And just some quick results from the same group in Egypt. And this Al Salia company is the 4th largest operator of center pivot irrigation systems in the world. And they've decided after this research to replace all their center pivots with solar floppies over the next 5 years. So they're slowly working through 23,000 acres of replacements. But as you see, compared to center pivots, we seem to routinely get increase in production. Quality, of course, is the size of the seed, the evenness of the maize on the cob, things like that. able to save in fertilizer because you're giving the exact amount of water you want, or exact amount of water the plant needs. And then, of course, saving water and energy. So it's climate smart, climate friendly, increases production. So this group said, with all of that, they're going to replace their center pivots and be selling them. Now, a point about Africa that I find so exciting. The British Geological Study did a survey, I think 3 years ago now, and they actually found that Africa's sitting on a sea of water. So much of this is that now, even if we don't have grid, and in countries where diesel's so expensive, we can open up a lot of areas to agriculture that otherwise couldn't be opened up, combining the solar power with the floppies. Taking Kenya as an example, the blue is the most rapid recharge rate. And as you see, the pink is next in line, and then the orange is after that. So much of Kenya is in a very good situation for this kind of irrigation. And the beauty of the Azo areas is they are warmer, and once you create that cool microenvironment, you can do 4 crops a year. So we think that's really exciting. This is basically the last slide I have. This was obviously put together pretty quickly because I just learned last night that we would be presenting today. But the good things about this is, now it's almost maintenance free, almost no operating cost because we're using solar power. Opens up vast new areas of Africa to irrigation and increases what we call arable land. This can give us up to 4 crops a year in the Azo areas, which is really astounding when you think about it. And of course, it saves on the inputs. If you add automation, which would be in this case probably soil moisture sensors, and either an ambient temperature sensor or leaf temperature sensors, along with a LoRa hooking to a SIM card-based internet, you can operate the system through remote control. You can set it so it's absolutely automated, which is an exciting thing for the city telephone farmers that we're seeing more and more here of. We know we're going to increase crop productivity and therefore farmer profits. And the other thing with automation is this crop cooling can be controlled based on the temperature of the leaf sensor as well as the soil moisture in the ground. So that's all I have. I've got other slides sort of on uses and stuff, but these work on basically any crop except something that would be in flood irrigation. So like rice, for example, upland rice can grow very well off of this, but it's nothing to mimic the flood irrigation of the large rice fields that we see in Asia. So that's it.
Well,
have I lost you guys?
No, we can hear you. We had
Okay.
muted ourselves.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chipstem. With your permission, we'll share your presentation and any other posters that you are going to share with us.
Sure.
So I'll take this opportunity to allow people to field their questions.